After completing this section, you should be able to achieve the objectives shown on this slide. By demonstrating competence in managed switch configuration, you should be able to identify the configuration layout used by FortiGate and FortiManager for switch management. When you authorize a switch that is working in standalone mode, the switch configuration is saved locally, just before the switch changes to FortiLink mode. Later, if you change the management mode back to standalone, the switch automatically restores the configuration that was backed up previously. The configuration for a managed switch is stored on FortiGate, and it's part of the FortiOS configuration file. For this reason, configuration revisions generated on FortiGate and configuration backups made by the administrator also contain the configuration for all managed switches. When you configure a managed switch on FortiGate, the configuration is pushed to the switch using the FortiSwitch REST API. The configuration push for a managed switch follows an asynchronous model. This means that only configuration changes made on FortiGate are pushed to the switch. Configuration changes made directly on the switch are not synced to FortiGate. As a result, configuration changes made directly on the switch may be lost, and therefore, this is not recommended. To improve performance and scalability, FortiGate pushes the complete configuration for a switch only once, which is after switch authorization. After that, FortiGate pushes only the changes made by the administrator, also known as the Delta configuration. Also, if the switch status changes from offline to online, FortiGate also pushes the Delta configuration only, provided there were changes made to the switch while it was offline. The switch status can change between offline and online because of a reboot, firmware upgrade, or another type of network disconnection event. In addition, if you have multiple managed switches, FortiGate pushes the configuration to multiple switches at the same time. Finally, if you manage FortiGate from FortiManager, by extension, you can also manage the FortiSwitch virtual stack on FortiManager. For this, you use the FortiSwitch Manager pane on FortiManager to edit the switch settings, and then you push the changes to FortiGate, which in turn pushes them to the switch locally. You may also need to use the FortiGate CLI to configure some settings for your managed switches, especially those that are not available on the FortiGate GUI. The main configuration for your switch virtual stack is found under Config Switch Controller Managed Switch. Here, you will find an entry for every switch that FortiGate discovers. The entries are organized by serial numbers, and each entry indicates the FortiLink interface that the switch is connected to. In the example shown on this slide, both switches are connected to the default FortiLink interface. In addition, each entry displays the list of ports on the switch for which you can adjust multiple settings, such as VLANs, security profiles, STP settings, and so on. Another important part of the configuration of managed switches is found under Config System Interface. In addition to the FortiLink interfaces configured on the system, you will also find the different FortiSwitch VLANs created for your switch virtual stack here. The example on this slide shows some of the default FortiLink interface configuration, as well as some of the default FortiSwitch VLAN configuration. FortiSwitch VLANs must be bound to a FortiLink interface and assigned a unique VLAN ID. On FortiManager, the FortiSwitch devices that are discovered by a managed FortiGate are also learned by FortiManager and displayed on the FortiSwitch Manager page. FortiSwitch Manager allows you to centrally manage FortiSwitch devices discovered by all authorized FortiGate devices on FortiManager. Instead of accessing each FortiGate to manage its attached FortiSwitch devices, you can manage all FortiSwitch devices controlled by all FortiGate devices from a single page on FortiManager. This simplified management can reduce the operating expenses, especially for large networks in which tens or hundreds of switches are deployed. When you access the FortiSwitch Manager page, you land on the Managed Switches page by default. This page displays a table containing all switches discovered by all FortiGate devices registered on Manager. For each authorized switch, the page displays the name, serial number, model or platform, controlling FortiGate and VDOM, connecting IP address, OS version, and join time. This is the same information that you would see on the FortiGate GUI for a switch. Each switch also displays an icon to the left of its name that reports its current status, which is obtained by Manager polling the FortiGate REST API every 3 minutes. The different statuses mean: online, the switch is authorized, and the management link with FortiGate is up. Offline, the switch is authorized, but the management link with FortiGate is down. Unauthorized, the switch was discovered by FortiGate, but it has not been authorized. Unknown, the switch is authorized, but its status cannot be determined. This is usually the case when the controller, FortiGate, is offline. This course focuses on switch management from FortiGate only, and therefore, does not describe switch management from Manager. Good job! You now understand managed switch configuration. Now, you will review the objectives that you covered in this lesson. This slide shows the objectives that you covered in this lesson. By mastering the objectives covered in this lesson, you learned about FortiSwitch, its management modes, key features, and basic operation.